Tenea D. Johnson. Tenea is a multimedia storyteller and award-winning author of 7 science fiction works, including 2021's release Frequencies, a fiction album, and Broken Fevers, of which Publishers Weekly wrote, the 14 hard-hitting, memorable short stories and prose vignettes in this powerhouse collection from Johnson are astounding in their originality. Go Tenea.
Thanks, everyone. I'm really enjoying the readings, and you guys are killing me in the comments, I just have to say. So a little bit from both pieces that came out this year. This is Lopsided World from Broken Fevers. When Sango dropped his into the world, Labanja's forearms trembled, and the clouds over the East Manchurian highlands swooped down so suddenly that some villagers wondered what good deed had elevated them into the heavens. In the West, cities crumbled. The concrete and steel could not hold the weight of the sky. So from British Columbia to Caracas, buildings became part of the sea. The flotsam shored up around Sango's giant body and the pole he still held. On land, bodies were crushed into a dust that clung close to the ground, filling the survivors' lungs with a murk so thick they would have to evolve to survive. So they did. And Congo's prophecy came true. Men and women became lizards and lived life on their bellies in the West. In the East, people searched for the reason behind the crooked sky. They did not know of Labanja. Her people had perished centuries ago. In their homeland, the horizon slanted but bore no other clues. Even the god of Congo, who had given her and Sango the poles and placed him in the West and her in the East, had disappeared. But Labanja had been busy and so did not know. Neither she nor the survivors had anyone to explain the lopsided world, so they made it up. The lizards slept in the shade of the debris and sunned themselves on great outcroppings of stone. They mated and fought, much the same as ever, only now they did so in the 3 feet of space from ground to sky. The men and women who still had room to stand sometimes ferried out to the end of the world, East Africa, and dropped their jaws at what they found there. When they got home, they wondered whether to kill their tiny lizards or worship them. In the peaks of the highlands, Labanja struggled to keep her footing. The sky swayed, pulled by the wind in her exhaustion. Sometimes she cried for her brother. Though the world had grown beneath her, Labanja only remembered Sango, how he looked just before he turned away from her, and she from him, and they each made their way to opposite posts. Everything else had been mountains and the blue above her. She thought of his grave smile when she squared her shoulders and bent her knees against the burden. When not thinking of Sango, Labanja watched splinters sprout down her pole. For a time, the lopsided world continued as such. When Labanja dropped her into the world, the pole slivered beneath the weight. She ground the other end into a mountain. Above, the heavens creaked and groaned, struggling to balance on the thin shaft. Just after Labanja reached her brother, who was now a giant island in the middle of the North Pacific, the pole collapsed. In the East, the survivors learned to live low to the ground, not sure if this was the beginning or end of their world. I'm going to follow that with a selection from Frequencies. I had broken the law, and for all the grantors' guilds, riddles, and cryptograms, the punishment was clear. I was to be banished, stripped of my fledgling power, and returned to a world that I'd abandoned 50 years before. So, on the cusp of my ascension to a full wish granter, I fell upon my knees. I didn't expect them to forgive me, but I needed them to know why I had betrayed our pact, forfeited my own wishes, and not granted Lula what she had wished. She was heir, but I couldn't look at her. My shame was too great, and the one next to her stood too close. This was the end. There was nothing to do but begin it. So, I picked up my past, the instrument I hadn't held since I became one, and it accompanied me. It took a long time to find the words to say. all the ways I failed you, even today. This will never be enough, no. But all I have is this. So before I say goodbye, this is my list. One true love to hold my hand. Grant me 3 wishes, all that I can. For love, for luck, for mercy, a home for passion and grace. 'Cause I may see through time, I'm always looking for your face. For love. For love. They remained unmoved. Thank you.